Have you ever walked into a room full of laughter, noise, and smiles, yet something deep inside you just wanted to walk away? Not because you dislike people, not because you're shy, but because every fiber of your being whispered, "I don't belong here." You tried to blend in. You laughed at jokes that felt hollow. You nodded through conversations that meant nothing. You looked around and wondered why everyone else seemed so comfortable, while your spirit felt restless, almost suffocated. That's because you're not like them. You are different by design. God's chosen ones are wired in a way the world doesn't understand. There are things you simply cannot accept, things your spirit refuses to digest. And it's not arrogance, it's alignment. Your soul has been tuned to heaven's frequency, and anything that doesn't resonate with truth, light, and purpose feels like static that burns inside you. In this message, I will reveal 5 undeniable things God's chosen ones hate, and why those very things are proof that you were set apart before you even took your first breath. And listen closely, because the third point will expose something about yourself that you may have never noticed, but it's been shaping your life in ways you can't imagine. This isn't just information, it's recognition. You'll finally understand why you've always felt the way you do, and why you can't change it, even if you tried. By the end, what you once saw as a burden, you will see as your greatest proof of calling. Before we begin, make sure you like this video, subscribe if you haven't yet, and comment 99 below, because 99 is the number of the sheep the shepherd left the flock to find. And today, this word might just be him finding you. 1. Superficiality, the hunger for depth. There is something in you that refuses to settle for the surface. You can stand in the middle of a conversation, surrounded by smiling faces, and yet feel as if you're drowning in an ocean only inches deep. The words swirl around you, gossip about people who aren't there, endless chatter about brands, trends, and things that fade in weeks. But inside, your soul aches for something real. It's not that you're too serious, and it's not that you can't relax. It's that you were created with an inner compass that points only toward truth. And every time you are forced to stand in the shallow end, that compass starts spinning, warning you, there's nothing for you here. For the chosen ones, small talk feels like eating air when you are starving for bread. You look into the eyes of the people around you, searching for signs of life beneath their words, something honest, something raw, something sacred. And too often, you find only masks. You don't hate them for it, but you can't pretend either, because you carry a weight, a divine assignment, and your spirit knows that meaningless words and hollow connections will never prepare you for the battles you are called to fight. And here's the secret few will understand. Your intolerance for superficiality is not pride, it is protection. The more time you spend in the shallow waters, the more you risk forgetting that you were born to swim in the deep. That constant emptiness you feel when the conversation has no soul, that's not you being picky or antisocial. That's heaven whispering, don't waste the oil I've placed inside you. The world loves distraction. It worships image over substance, noise over meaning, appearances over truth. But chosen ones can't survive on that diet. It starves them. You need words that breathe life, not steal it. You need spaces where the masks come off, where people dare to speak what they truly feel, even if it's messy, even if it's uncomfortable. You crave conversations that leave you changed when they're over. Connections that awaken the fire inside you instead of dimming it. Think about the times you've been in a group where everyone is laughing about something silly, but you're silently wondering if anyone else sees the pain in the room. Or the times you've been surrounded by talk of possessions, status, or the next big trend, and you can almost feel your spirit pulling away, drifting towards some distant shore where none of that matters. That's because the chosen see the unseen. While others chase the glitter, you are searching for gold, the kind that's buried deep, hidden in the hearts of those who dare to be real. This hunger for depth will cost you. People may label you as too intense, hard to please, or difficult to get close to. Some will misunderstand your silence as judgment. Others will try to pull you into the current of shallow living, thinking they're helping you lighten up. But you know the truth. Your silence is not distance, it's discernment. You're not rejecting people, you're rejecting the empty shells that keep you from truly knowing them. And here's what most don't realize. Superficiality doesn't just waste your time, it weakens your spirit. Every moment you spend pretending to care about what doesn't matter is a moment you're not listening to the whisper of God inside you. Every fake laugh drains a drop from the oil in your lamp. Every meaningless conversation dulls the sword you've been given to fight real battles. That's why your soul pushes back so hard. It's not stubbornness, it's self-preservation. Because here's the danger. If you feed on the shallow long enough, you start to forget the taste of the deep. And if you forget the deep, you lose your map home. That is why God wired you to feel the discomfort so sharply. It's your built-in alarm system, alerting you that you've wandered too close to a place where purpose suffocates. So when you feel that familiar ache in your chest, that restless pull to leave the room, pay attention. It's not a flaw. It's a signpost. It's your Father saying, "This is not where you grow. This is not where your fire burns brighter. Come away with me." And if you've ever wondered why this hunger sets you apart, why it makes you seem different in a world obsessed with the shallow, here's the truth. Depth is dangerous to darkness, and that is why you must never lose it. And yet, there is something even more unsettling. Sometimes this hunger for depth doesn't just make you uncomfortable, it makes you lonely. A loneliness that cannot be explained to those who live happily in the shallow end. And in that loneliness lies a secret about yourself that we'll get to later in this message. A secret that will make everything you've felt suddenly make sense. 2. Lies and manipulation, the unmasking spirit. There is something almost supernatural in the way you see through people. It's not suspicion, it's not cynicism, it's not a hardened heart. It's a gift, one that you didn't ask for. One that sometimes you wish you could switch off, but one that has saved you more times than you'll ever know. The chosen carry a spiritual radar, tuned by God Himself, that can detect the faintest ripple of deception. Long before the lie reaches your ears, you feel it in your spirit. Long before the mask slips, you've already caught the glimmer of something false behind the eyes. It can happen in a moment. Someone smiles at you. Perfect, polished, warm, but your soul feels a sudden coldness. Their words are sweet, but something in the tone doesn't match. You notice the pause before they answer, the way their gaze flickers when you ask a direct question. The energy shifts around them, and your spirit stands alert. You can't always explain it, but you know. You know when flattery is really a hook. You know when concern is really control. You know when friendship is really a disguise for access. And here's the hardest part. You want to believe the best in people. You truly do. Your heart is wired for compassion, for grace, for second chances. You've told yourself, maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. You've tried to silence the warning voice, to give them the benefit of the doubt. But the more you ignore it, the louder it becomes. Because it's not paranoia, it's the Holy Spirit. And when heaven sends you a warning, ignoring it is never without cost. This gift can be heavy. It can make you feel isolated, even misunderstood. Others might think you're too guarded, too quick to judge. But they don't understand what you've lived through. They don't know how many times your spirit was right. They didn't see the betrayal that would have crushed you if you hadn't listened to the whisper in your chest. They didn't watch the trap collapse behind you after you walked away. Manipulators hate the chosen. They despise the ones they cannot deceive. Your presence alone is a threat to their agenda, because it's not just that you see the lie, it's that you refuse to dance with it. You won't play their game, you won't be baited into their traps, And you won't hand them the keys to your trust just because they know the right words to say. And here's the thing. This isn't just about protecting yourself. It's about protecting the truth you carry. God didn't give you eyes to see so you could walk around exposing people for sport. He gave you this discernment so you could guard the anointing on your life. Lies are more than words. Manipulation is more than tactics. They are spiritual toxins designed to drain your faith, twist your calling, and weaken your influence. That's why you can't ignore them. That's why you step back, even when the world says, "Oh, they seem so nice." You've learned that not everyone who smiles at you is for you. Not every hand extended is meant to help you up. Some are meant to pull you under. And when you feel that tightening in your spirit, that subtle shift in the air, you know you are standing in the presence of something false. You've felt it in conversations that seemed harmless. You felt it in compliments that came too quickly. You felt it in offers that were too good to be true. And every time, that inner voice was right. Sometimes this discernment will force you to walk away from people you care about. It will break your heart to realize that someone you trusted was wearing a mask the whole time. But here's the truth. Your commitment to God's truth must be greater than your attachment to any relationship. And the moment you feel that line being crossed, you have to choose. The chosen always choose truth. Because deep down, you know that the lie doesn't just hurt you. It poisons everything it touches. It distorts reality, erodes trust, and creates chains that are harder to break the longer you let them wrap around you. That's why, when your spirit says, "Be careful," you listen. That's why you step back, even if it makes you look cold. That's why you'd rather be misunderstood for guarding your heart than be destroyed by letting the wrong spirit in. And there's a mystery in all of this, one that many won't see until it's too late. Manipulation doesn't always come from enemies. Sometimes it comes from those closest to you, the ones you'd never suspect. And when that moment comes, when the mask finally cracks, you'll realize that your unmasking spirit is not just a gift, it's your shield. And what it will reveal in the next part of this message might explain some of the most painful experiences you've ever had. 3. Crowds and empty exposure. The energy drain. There is a strange contradiction in the life of the chosen. On one hand, you are called to be a light. You are called to stand where others shrink back, to speak where others stay silent, to carry a presence that shifts the atmosphere. But on the other hand, there is a part of you that resists being in the spotlight without purpose. The world calls it shyness or introversion, but that's not what it is. The truth is, you are not afraid of being seen. You are afraid of being wasted. Crowds are not your enemy, but they are not your home. You can stand in front of hundreds, even thousands, and deliver what God gave you with power. You can be magnetic, bold, even captivating when the moment demands it. But put you in a room full of noise, chaos, and meaningless chatter, and something inside you begins to fade. Your spirit starts scanning, not for attention, but for alignment. You're looking for the heartbeat of the room. And if it's not there, you begin to feel yourself slipping into a kind of spiritual exhaustion that no amount of coffee or rest can fix. Here's why. Chosen ones absorb energy, not just the good, the bad, the heavy, the hidden. You walk into a space and you feel what's not being said. You feel the silent tension between two people standing across the room. You feel the bitterness hiding behind someone's polite smile. You feel the weight of unspoken grief in a person who laughs too loudly. This is not imagination. It's spiritual sensitivity. And while it's one of your greatest strengths, it's also one of your greatest drains. Most people can go to a party, a conference, a crowded event and come home feeling energized, buzzing from all the stimulation. But you might leave smiling on the outside, yet inside you feel like you've just run a marathon with no finish line. Your mind replays every detail you picked up. Your spirit still carries the heaviness you walked through. You go home not just tired, You go home carrying the residue of other people's spirits. And until you've learned to cleanse that off you, it lingers. This is why meaningless exposure feels like slow poison. It's not that you don't like people. It's that every interaction costs you something. And when that cost isn't connected to your purpose, it feels like you're pouring out oil on the ground. This is also why God trains chosen ones to be selective about where they go, who they stand with, and what they give their energy to. Every crowd is not your assignment. Every platform is not your stage. Every invitation is not a divine opportunity. And yet, the paradox remains. You are called to be seen. Your gift was not meant to stay hidden. Your voice was not meant to be silent forever. You were not chosen just to hide in the shadows. The challenge is learning to stand in the light without being consumed by it. To speak to the multitudes without letting the noise of their spirits drown out the whisper of God inside you. To fulfill your mission without trading your peace for applause. You know this battle well. The moments when God opens a door for you to speak, to lead, to be in front of others, and you feel His strength carrying you. You can feel your purpose radiating through every word, every action. And then, the moment it's over, you step away and suddenly you feel the weight hit you. The aftershock, the spiritual fatigue, the quiet ache in your chest as you realize how much of yourself you just poured out. And here's the part few understand. Sometimes the danger isn't in being unseen. It's in being seen for the wrong reasons. Empty exposure is when people watch you, but they don't see you. They're drawn to the light, but not to the truth behind it. They applaud the gift, but ignore the God who gave it. They want access to your presence, but not to your purpose. And that, for a chosen one, is one of the most exhausting places to be. This is why you walk a tightrope every day, balancing the call to go out into the world with the need to protect your inner sanctuary. You cannot let the crowd dictate your pace, your message, or your worth. You have to know when to step forward and when to step back, when to shine and when to recharge, when to be in the room and when to walk away entirely. Because here's the truth. A crowd can lift you to the mountaintop or drag you into the pit. And the only way to tell the difference is to stay in constant connection with the one who sent you. Without that connection, you will always be at risk of pouring yourself out where no fruit will grow. And yet, there's another layer to this, one that goes deeper than exhaustion or energy. There is a reason why certain rooms drain you faster than others, a reason why some crowds feel heavier, darker, more suffocating. A reason why you sometimes leave a place feeling like you've been in a battle you never saw coming. And once you understand it, you'll see that it's not just about your sensitivity. It's about something far more dangerous, something that the next part of this message will uncover. 4. Injustice. The heart that cannot stay silent. For the chosen ones, injustice is not just something they see, it's something they feel. When you witness someone being wronged, when you see cruelty, abuse, exploitation, or betrayal, it doesn't simply register in your mind as that's wrong. It hits you like a physical blow, as if the wound was carved into your own soul. It's not sympathy, it's identification. It's as if God wired you to absorb the pain of others so you could carry it before Him. You felt it in moments others brushed off, a coworker taking credit for another's work, a child being belittled by a parent in public, someone being shut out of a conversation, their voice dismissed as unimportant. These moments don't pass quickly for you. They linger. They replay in your mind for days, sometimes weeks, because your spirit can't stand the thought of injustice being normalized. And this is where the fire inside you begins to rise. The chosen cannot watch oppression and remain neutral. It's not in their nature. You were born with a defender's heart. Sometimes that defense is gentle, a quiet word to the one who's hurting, a silent prayer for God's justice to move. Other times it's fierce, a confrontation, a refusal to back down, a voice raised so loudly that it forces others to listen. The method may change, but the mission does not. Truth must be defended. But here's the reality. Standing for truth comes at a cost. Defending the oppressed often means confronting the comfortable. And people who are comfortable in their power do not give it up without a fight. You've been misunderstood for this, called too emotional, too intense, too sensitive. You've been accused of stirring conflict when all you were doing was exposing what was already there. But you know this is not a flaw. It's evidence of your divine design. Because God's justice doesn't begin in courtrooms. It begins in hearts. And He plants it deep inside the chosen so it cannot be silenced. That ache you feel when someone suffers unfairly is not weakness. It's the mark of heaven on your soul. It's the same heart that drove Moses to confront Pharaoh, the same fire that made Esther risk her life before the king, the same courage that made Jesus overturn the tables in the temple. You have to understand, injustice is a spirit. It seeks to break people, to crush their hope, to make them believe they are powerless. And when a chosen one walks into the room, that spirit feels the resistance. You carry an authority that challenges it without you even speaking. That's why your presence sometimes stirs tension before you've said a word. Darkness knows that if you open your mouth, the lie will be exposed. But this calling will test you. There will be moments when you want to turn away, to tell yourself, "It's not my fight." Yet you know the truth. It is your fight. Because when God gave you the ability to feel the pain of others as your own, He was also giving you the responsibility to respond. That doesn't always mean rushing into battle without wisdom, but it does mean you can never be the one who stands by and watches. And this is what makes the chosen dangerous to systems built on injustice. You can't be bought. You can't be silenced. You can't be manipulated into believing that wrong is right just because it's popular or profitable. Your allegiance is not to the crowd, it's to the kingdom. And when you open your mouth in alignment with heaven, even the most fortified lies begin to tremble. But there's a weight to this calling, because for every battle you fight for someone else, you carry the scars in your own spirit. You've left situations exhausted, wondering if it was worth it, wondering if anyone even noticed. But then, God reminds you, you're not fighting for applause. You're fighting because you can't not fight. You're fighting because He made you this way. And maybe that's the part you've never fully realized. Your deep sensitivity to injustice isn't just about defending others. It's also training you for the greatest battles of your own life, the ones where you will have to stand for yourself when no one else will. And in those moments, the fire that once burned for others will be the very thing that keeps you from falling. Still, there is a hidden cost to carrying this justice anointing. It doesn't just make you a defender, it also makes you a target. And in the next part of this message, you'll understand why the enemy works so hard to silence those who carry this fire. 5. Control and emotional prisons. The cry for freedom. For the chosen ones, freedom is not a luxury. It's oxygen. Without it, they cannot breathe. They cannot create. They cannot fulfill the very reason they were placed on this earth. And yet, the enemy knows this, which is why he works so hard to wrap their lives in invisible chains. Sometimes those chains are obvious, clear acts of control by people or systems. Other times, they're subtle, woven into relationships, jobs, or belief systems that look harmless but slowly choke the life out of the soul. A controlling relationship can look like love on the surface, but underneath, it's a constant measuring of your words, your choices, your dreams. It's someone telling you who you are allowed to be, what you are allowed to do, what dreams are acceptable, and which ones are too much. It's their approval becoming the prison bars, their disapproval becoming the lock. An oppressive workplace can disguise itself as structure and policy, but you feel it in your spirit. It's a cage. Rules that suffocate creativity. Leadership that punishes individuality. Environments where innovation is crushed and only blind obedience is rewarded. The chosen do not do well in these spaces, not because they are rebellious, but because their very design is meant to bring new life, fresh vision, and divine order wherever they go. And when you cage that design, the soul begins to wither. Then there are the limiting belief systems, mental prisons that don't come from outside but from within. These are the old voices you've carried for years. You're not good enough, you're not ready, you don't deserve more. You'll fail if you try. Sometimes these beliefs were planted by parents, teachers, friends. Other times they were sown by the enemy himself in moments of your deepest pain. And even if no one is controlling you outwardly, these inner chains can be just as binding. The chosen ones experience these restrictions more painfully than others because their calling demands space to move. Your purpose was never meant to be fulfilled in confinement. Your spirit thrives in alignment with the Holy Spirit, not under the thumb of fear or manipulation. And when you're trapped in one of these emotional prisons, you feel it instantly. The air gets heavier, the days get duller, the colors of life seem to fade. You start to lose your joy, your fire, your vision. And deep down you know, this is not living. This is the spiritual suffocation that happens when a chosen one is kept from walking in their God-given identity. You can paste a smile over it. You can go through the motions, but inside, your soul is pressing its hands against the walls, searching for a crack of light. It's not rebellion. It's the nature of your calling pushing against the cage. And here's the truth the enemy never wants you to realize. Breaking free is not an act of defiance against people. It's an act of obedience to God. The same God who knit you together in your mother's womb did not create you to be a prisoner to fear, control, or manipulation. When you break the chains, you are not dishonoring the ones who held them. You are honoring the one who called you. This freedom is not about running away from responsibility. It's about stepping into responsibility, the responsibility to steward the gift, the vision, and the voice God placed inside you. It's about refusing to bury your talent in the ground because someone else is uncomfortable with how brightly you shine. It's about saying, I will no longer live on the terms of those who want to contain me. I will live on the terms of the one who sent me. The journey to breaking free can be messy. It may mean walking away from relationships you thought would last forever. It may mean leaving jobs that once felt secure. It may mean confronting lies you've believed about yourself for years. But each step you take is not just a step away from bondage. It's a step toward the life God has prepared for you. And the moment you taste that freedom, something changes forever. You realize how much life you've missed while living in the shadows of someone else's control. You realize the cage was never locked. The door was always open. But the enemy convinced you it wasn't. And now, as you step through, you feel the weight of years falling off your shoulders. Still, there is something about this breaking free that will surprise you. Because sometimes the greatest prisons are not the ones that look like cages. They are the ones that feel comfortable. And in the next part of this message, you'll see why walking away from comfort might be the most important step you ever take. Everything you've felt, everything that has set you apart, everything the world told you was too much or too strange has been leading you here. These 5 things you cannot tolerate are not random quirks of personality. They are divine fingerprints, holy indicators, sacred signs that heaven has placed its mark upon you. You have been set apart, not to be alone, but to be prepared, not to be hidden forever, but to be revealed in God's perfect timing. The discomfort you feel in shallow places, the way your spirit tightens at the scent of deception, the weight you carry after standing in meaningless crowds, the fire that rises when you see injustice, the ache for freedom when chains try to hold you. These are not flaws. These are your spiritual coordinates, pointing you to your mission. You were never meant to blend in with the noise. You were meant to shift atmospheres. You were meant to disrupt darkness. You were meant to carry a standard the world cannot dilute. Hear me. You are not strange. You are chosen. And the very things you cannot stand are the very proof you were never created to fit in. You were created to stand out. You carry a frequency that heaven trusts and hell fears. And when you walk in it, unapologetically, chains will break simply because you are present. This is your moment, not to shrink, not to explain yourself to those who will never understand, but to rise, to step into the fullness of